Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman chooses to walk away from a man without saying a single word, without a dramatic exit or a long emotional explanation, it leaves a kind of silence behind that can shake a man to his core. See, men are used to noise, arguments, confrontation, emotional outbursts. They know how to handle that. They might not like it, but they expect it. But when a woman just stops calling, stops texting, stops trying, stops explaining, and she just quietly fades out of his life, that silence becomes deafening. It's not just the absence of her voice that gets to him. It's the weight of everything she didn't say. And that silence becomes the loudest message she could ever send. At first, he doesn't even feel it. He thinks it's temporary. Maybe she's just mad. Maybe she needs space. He might even feel relief in the beginning because the conflict is gone. No more questions. No more emotional conversations. No more expectations. But that's just the beginning, because real silence, the kind that comes when someone is done with you, it doesn't come with warnings. It sneaks up on you. It hits hardest when you're not looking. A man who's used to a woman always being there, always loving, always forgiving, always showing up, even after she was hurt, he never sees it coming when she decides to leave without a word. He doesn't recognize the silence at first because he's so used to her noise, her love, her efforts, her presence. So he ignores it. The day goes by, then another. He checks his phone, nothing. Still, he brushes it off. He convinces himself that she'll be back. She always comes back. She's emotional. She just needs time. But this time is different. She doesn't come back. She doesn't call. She doesn't text. She doesn't ask how he's doing. And slowly, the silence that felt like peace at first starts to feel like punishment. He begins to notice her absence. The little things that never mattered before suddenly feel like they matter the most. The way she used to send that good morning message, the way she used to remind him to eat, the way she used to get mad when he ignored her calls but still picked up when he needed something. All those things he took for granted start showing up in his memory like reruns of a show he didn't appreciate while it was airing. And that silence she left behind, it starts to speak loudly. It tells him that she finally got tired, that she stopped fighting, that she gave up on something she once believed in. It tells him she reached a place where explaining herself felt useless, where proving her worth became exhausting, where loving him began to hurt more than losing him. And he realizes she didn't leave because she didn't care. She left because she cared too much for too long and got nothing in return. He starts replaying conversations in his head, words she said that he brushed off, moments where she cried and he rolled his eyes, times she begged for his attention, his time, his respect, and he gave her excuses instead. And now there's no one to argue with, no one to explain to, no one to defend himself against, just silence. And that silence becomes his truth. It becomes a mirror. It shows him the man he was, the man he failed to be, and the damage he caused. And he starts to miss her, not just the physical presence, but her energy, her spirit, the way she made him feel important, the way she covered for him, protected him, loved him through everything. But the silence tells him something else too. It tells him she finally found peace. Peace that didn't need permission, peace that didn't wait for his apology, peace that came when she realized she was worth more than being someone's afterthought. And that silence, it hurts in a way he can't explain because it didn't come with closure. It didn't come with a final fight or a dramatic goodbye. It came wrapped in dignity, wrapped in strength, wrapped in, I'm done, and that quiet strength is the part that stays with him the most. Now, every time he hears her name, it stings. Every place they went together starts to feel different. The songs she loved start to sound like echoes. He opens his phone and scrolls up through their messages, not to reread what was said, but to feel what's no longer there. He might even reach out, type a message, stare at it, and then delete it, because deep down, he knows. He knows she's not coming back. He knows he waited too long to change. He knows he gambled with something he thought he'd never lose, and he lost. And the worst part, she didn't even scream. She didn't slam the door. She didn't make a scene. She just walked away with nothing but silence. And that silence will speak to him every single day, in the quiet moments, in the middle of the night, when he sees her smile in pictures with someone else, when he hears her laugh in a memory he can't recreate. That silence becomes the lesson, the one he'll never forget, because nothing is louder than the sound of a woman finally choosing herself without saying a word. When a man is left in silence, no text, no closure, no warning, it shakes him to his foundation. At first, he tries to protect his ego. He convinces himself that he's unbothered. He says all the right things to his friends, pretending it doesn't hurt. She didn't even say goodbye, man, whatever, I'll be straight. That's what he tells them. But what he says out loud and what he feels inside, two completely different stories. Because deep down, whether he admits it or not, a man knows the difference between a temporary pause and a permanent exit. And when a woman moves on without saying a word, he begins to realize something that hits harder than anything else. She didn't need him anymore. Not his excuses, not his explanations, not his promises to do better, nothing. And that level of independence, that level of self-worth, that's intimidating to a man who always thought he had time, thought he had power, thought he had her. His ego becomes the first line of defense. It tells him lies like, she's just being dramatic, or she'll be back, she always comes back. And for a while, he believes it. That lie is comforting. It allows him to continue living without having to look inward, without having to ask himself the hard questions. Why did she leave? What role did I play in this? Was I really showing up for her the way I said I would? He doesn't ask those questions immediately because that would require vulnerability. And vulnerability is something a lot of men were never taught to process properly. So he deflects. He scrolls Instagram. He hits the gym harder. He goes out with the guys, maybe even flirts with someone new. Anything to distract him from that sinking feeling in his gut, the one that whispers, you messed up something real. Eventually, though, the distractions fade, the laughs aren't as full, the women aren't as meaningful, the nights start to feel longer, because no matter what he does, one truth remains. She's really gone and she left without a word. That's what messes with him, not the fact that she left, but how she did it, with no scene, no drama, no one last fight, just silence. And silence doesn't give him anything to fight against. It doesn't give him someone to blame. It just sits there quietly, forcing him to deal with himself. He starts remembering things, not just the good times, but the missed chances. The time she looked at him with tired eyes, hoping he'd ask what was wrong. The way her voice started sounding more distant, even when she was right next to him. How she stopped arguing, not because she stopped caring, but because she realized it wasn't making a difference. All of that flashes through his mind like a highlight reel of what he lost and never appreciated. Now, here's the kicker. His ego will lie to him for a while, but his heart knows the truth. The heart doesn't have pride. The heart doesn't care about saving face. The heart just feels, and it starts to ache. It starts to regret. Not all at once, but in waves, like when he sees a couple laughing in public, when he hears her favorite song on the radio, when he finds one of her bobby pins still stuck under his car seat. That's when it hits. That's when the mask comes off and the truth stares him in the face. He didn't lose her one day. He lost her piece by piece. Every time he made her feel like she didn't matter. That's when he starts to understand that what made her leave wasn't just the big fights, the mistakes, or the broken promises. It was the slow fade. The way he stopped being present, the way he stopped listening, the way he assumed she'd always be there, no matter how careless he was with her love. He thought her patience was forever. But patience isn't infinite, not even in the strongest woman. Now he's alone with that truth. He picks up his phone more often than he'd admit, scrolls through old pictures, rereads the messages, not the long ones, but the short ones near the end, the ones that said okay instead of I love you too, the ones that showed she was already pulling away. He sees it now. All the signs were there, he just didn't pay attention. He may even try to reach out, a simple hey, you good, but no reply. That silence again. And it burns. Because now he knows it wasn't a game, it wasn't manipulation. She didn't leave to get a reaction. She left because she finally realized her peace was more important than trying to fix a man who wasn't ready to be fixed. She didn't slam doors or shout ultimatums. She just removed herself from the situation. And that kind of exit, that haunts a man more than anything else. It forces him to grow. Maybe not right away, but eventually. Because once a man experiences the kind of woman who can love deeply and leave silently, he never forgets her. She becomes the standard, the what if, the one that slipped through because he wasn't man enough to keep her. He starts comparing every woman after her, not because he's stuck, but because deep down, he knows he fumbled something rare, something genuine, something that doesn't come around twice. So he begins to change, not for her, but because of her. Her silence became the turning point. It taught him what no lecture, no fight, no breakup conversation ever could. It showed him the cost of not valuing a woman when you have her. It showed him that even the most loving hearts will eventually walk away if you give them enough reasons. That's the irony. His ego told him she needed him, that she wouldn't go anywhere. But his heart always knew. It knew that one day, if he kept pushing her away, she'd leave. And when she did, it wouldn't be loud, it wouldn't be dramatic, it would be quiet, calm, and final. And that silence would be the only thing left to remind him of the love he let slip through his hands. When a man realizes she's truly gone and gone without a word, it doesn't just break his heart, it breaks his rhythm. You see, men have a habit of depending on consistency, on things staying the same. Even if things weren't perfect, they find a strange sense of comfort in routine. Waking up knowing she's still there, knowing her name will pop up on his screen, knowing he can ignore an issue today and fix it tomorrow. But when she leaves in silence, she disrupts that entire rhythm. And now there's no more later, there's only absence, and that hits differently. He starts to notice the empty spaces, not just in the room, but in his life. Her toothbrush is gone. Her side of the bed doesn't have that slight dip anymore. Her scent fades from his pillow. The apartment is quieter, not peaceful quiet, but eerie quiet. He starts to realize just how much presence she carried in that space. The sound of her laugh, the way she hummed while folding laundry, her playlist playing while she cooked something new he never bothered to appreciate. All of that is gone now, and it's not coming back. And then a shift happens. That's when it really starts to dig deep, because the silence she left behind begins to talk loudly. It speaks through everything, through the missed calls that never happened, through the movies he watches alone, through the songs he skips because they remind him too much of her. He finds himself reaching for conversations that no longer exist. He plays old voice notes just to hear her voice. That's not about ego anymore. That's about grief. But it's not the kind of grief that gets sympathy, because no one sees it. He still shows up to work, still laughs at jokes with the guys, still posts like everything is normal, but inside he's unraveling. And the worst part, he knows exactly why. Because the woman he lost, she didn't ghost him out of pettiness or games. She left because she gave everything she had, and it still wasn't enough. And that realization that you weren't enough to keep someone who loved you deeply is a bitter pill to swallow. So now he rewinds time in his mind. He goes back to the little moments, the arguments he brushed off, the way she asked him to talk more, to open up, how she wanted his attention, not his money, not his gifts, but his presence. She wanted the version of him that used to try, the man who looked at her like she was everything. But somewhere along the way, he stopped. He got lazy, got too comfortable, thought she wouldn't leave. And now that she did, he realizes just how much she endured before walking away. The regret starts to change shape. At first, it was just guilt. Now it's self-questioning. Why didn't I listen? Why didn't I show her I cared? Why did I assume she'd stay just because she always did before? He starts wondering what kind of man he was actually becoming while she was slowly slipping away. And the truth? That version of him was a man who took love for granted. A man who assumed loyalty meant permanence. A man who thought apologies were enough without action. Eventually, he'll see her glow from afar. Maybe she starts posting pictures again. Maybe she's out laughing, healed, soft again, but not for him. And that image, that'll stay with him. Because the woman he hurt didn't stay broken. She picked herself up. She healed herself without him. And that's when the final blow lands. She never needed him to be whole. She just wanted to build something together, and he blew it. Now he can't unsee the damage. It follows him. Every time he tries to love someone new, there's a hesitation, a guilt, a shadow of the woman who walked away without a word. Because she didn't leave chaos, she left peace. She walked away calmly, like someone who had nothing left to say because everything had already been said, just never heard. And that silence, that final unspoken goodbye, rings louder than any fight or breakup text ever could. Eventually, if he's wise, he'll let this pain shape him. He'll grow. He'll understand that love isn't about possession, it's about appreciation. He'll start listening differently. He'll treat the next woman with more softness, more awareness, because he'll remember what it felt like to be left in silence. And maybe, just maybe, he'll never make the same mistake again. But even then, a part of him will always remember her. The woman who left without saying a word, not because she didn't care, but because she finally realized her silence was more powerful than her tears. When a woman moves on without saying a word, and a man sees her doing better, flourishing, glowing, something inside him stirs in a way he never expected. It's not just about the loss of a relationship anymore. It becomes personal, deep, almost spiritual, because now he's witnessing the full picture of what he had, what he took for granted, and what he will never get back. And the fact that she's not just surviving, but thriving without him, that hits different. That wounds the ego, the heart, the pride, and everything in between. In the beginning, he might shrug it off. He'll tell himself she's just trying to make him jealous, that she's posting pictures, smiling wide, dressing up, living her best life only because she wants to get a reaction. That's how he protects himself from the truth. He convinces himself it's a phase, that deep down she still misses him, still hurts, still checks on him. But as time goes on, and the glow doesn't fade, when he realizes she's not looking back, reality hits. She's not pretending. She's healing, actually healing. Not in a revenge way, not in a look what you lost kind of attitude, but in a silent, graceful, powerful way that says, I found peace, and you're not part of it anymore. That's when the real emotions begin to bubble up in him. Jealousy, sure, maybe. But more than that, it's a deep, aching sense of regret. Because now he's seeing what she looks like when she's pouring all that love, energy, and care into herself. He remembers when she used to pour all of that into him, when she used to build him up, believe in him, forgive him, cheer him on, ask about his day. He didn't realize at the time how much of her light she was giving, because back then he saw it as normal, routine, expected. And now, watching her shine without him, he's forced to confront a haunting thought. She was always gold. I was just too blind to see it. He starts scrolling through her old pictures, comparing the before and after. He notices her smile is different now. Not forced, not trying to keep a relationship alive. It's real, free. And that hurts more than any argument they ever had. Because her glow is not angry, it's peaceful. And that kind of peace only comes when someone has truly let go. When they've stopped waiting for an apology. When they've stopped hoping you'll change. When they've accepted the silence and decided they deserve better. Now he's watching her become everything she used to talk about. That business idea she once brought up, she's doing it. Those trips she dreamed about, she's posting from them. That gym routine she kept mentioning when he told her she didn't need to change anything, she's consistent now. He sees her evolving, elevating, becoming, and he realizes he was never her final destination, just a stop on her journey. That's the kind of growth that humbles a man. Because while he may have moved on technically, maybe even started dating someone new, there's an emptiness in those new interactions. He laughs, but not the same. He shares, but not deeply, because no matter who comes after her, they're not her. They don't understand him the way she did. They don't see through his moods, call out his fears, or celebrate his wins the way she once did. And in the back of his mind, he knows he lost someone rare. He starts replaying conversations they had, the late night talks, the way she used to ask him what he wanted out of life, the way she looked at him when he was at his worst, like he was still worthy of love. That's not something you find every day. And yet he let it slip through his fingers. Why? Maybe he was afraid. Maybe he was immature. Maybe he thought she'd always be there, no matter how many times he let her down. But the truth is, he just didn't appreciate her enough, not in real time. Now he's left with memories. And that's the hardest part, because memories don't argue back. They don't explain themselves. They don't fight for a second chance. They just sit there reminding you of what you had. And watching her glow only makes those memories sharper. He remembers her birthday dinner, the small gift she gave just because, the time she asked him, "Are you okay?" and actually meant it. All of those moments come back, but now they belong to the past, not the future. He might reach out, maybe through a message, maybe just by liking a picture. Some passive attempt to reconnect, to feel a spark again. But when she doesn't respond, or responds with politeness and nothing more, he finally gets it. She's not mad anymore. She's just done. And that kind of done is permanent. It's not driven by anger. It's built on clarity. Eventually, he will have to make peace with it. He'll have to accept that he was part of her story, but not the whole book. That the chapter with his name on it ended when she walked away quietly. And her glow, it's not about making him suffer. It's not about proving him wrong. It's about reclaiming her life, her happiness, her identity, the one that got buried trying to love someone who wasn't ready. And if he's smart, he'll let this pain turn into growth. He'll stop blaming her silence and start examining his own actions. He'll learn that love doesn't beg, that women who love deeply also leave silently when they realize they're giving more than they're receiving. He'll understand that next time, if he's lucky enough to be loved that way again, he has to show up fully, consistently, gratefully. Because once you see a woman glow without you and realize she's glowing because she's no longer weighed down by you, that's a lesson you don't forget.